you serve others, you are the one that is being helped. And it is the greatest drug on earth.
Welcome, everyone, to the Driving Vision podcast brought to you by the Zeigler Auto Group. And here with me, Auto Group Director of Talent Development, Mike Van Ryn. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Sam.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, like it if you do, and leave a comment. Hey, everybody, welcome to the special edition of the Driving Vision podcast. With us today, straight from the Zeigler Speaker Series, Zeigler Locker Room here next to Zeigler Studios, is Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney, which... welcome, first of all.
Blessed to be here. Thanks for all the support of Folds of Honor. First, we're going to level set that in the Folds Collegiate.
Well, it's an unbelievable organization you've created, Dan, and we're so proud to be a small part of that.
Your address today was just mind-blowing. It's such a beautiful mission, such a beautiful purpose, what you have with Folds of Honor. Would you just tell us, how did it start? How did this begin?
Yeah, well, the quick version of that story is it started with a crazy 12-year-old kid that wanted to be a golf pro and a fighter pilot. And as I explained to him, a rare bird only got in the history of the world to put those two things together. But ultimately, how God would take those and it would manifest itself in a much deeper, much more meaningful way that I could have never imagined. That started in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Not far from here.
No,
yeah.
I'm a Tulsa guy.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
Here I am pulling up to a gate in Grand Rapids, Michigan on June 6, 2006. And the captain comes over the PA and announces that we're carrying the remains of Corporal Brock Buckland, who'd been killed in Iraq, and that his identical twin brother, Corporal Brad Buckland, is in first class and had brought him home. And as a fighter pilot, I've done 3 combat tours in Iraq and certainly have witnessed the ultimate sacrifice, but I'd never seen that side of war. And I watched that Buckland family, his brothers, parents, wife, and his 4-year-old son, is Brock's American flag draped coffin inched down from that cargo ramp, and it really impacted me. And ceremony finishes, I kind of gather myself and stand up. And despite the captain's request that night, it's late, but more than half the people had gotten off the plane.
Really?
Nowhere to go except that blanket of freedom we'll all sleep under tonight, courtesy of Corporal Brock Buckland and 1.1 million veterans who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And I felt a calling on that night, man. Felt the hand of God on me to do something. I think so often in life, people, have an idea or they see something and that emotion passes and you don't do anything. And I always say inspiration without action is meaningless. And it comes in all different forms, man. And so we started Folds of Honor above our garage 16 years ago. And, the cliff notes are 51,000 scholarships, $240 million out the door, and life-changing education, taking care of these families.
And you've certainly impacted the world. You've changed the world. You've touched many people. You've given people the opportunity to give back in ways that otherwise they wouldn't have. And you go back to that moment as you got off the airplane in Grand Rapids. And as you describe it, you were touched, you were called. Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought back to that moment and thought, what if I didn't respond? What if I had gotten off that airplane? I mean, that's a pivotal moment. That's synchronicity, as you call it, right?
No, and it's, we got this saying, I talked about it today in our discussion, but there's a couple of things I learned as a fighter pilot that were life-changing. One's go before you're ready. You get 4 rides and your 5th ride solo in F-16. You learn that one really fast. And the other I talked about today was dark visor down, or wear these helmets. And it's such a powerful metaphor for life. As you put that dark visor down, you close out all the noise.
Yeah.
Because every one of us has people in our lives that are trying to tell you what'll work, what won't work. I call it making you a prisoner of common assumption. Man, you got to close those people out. And I'm so glad that, we did go before and ready to put that dark visor down. And, have had people come along this journey. And it's not like I haven't wanted to quit a few times. Trust me, I have. But there's always somebody that walks through the door that's like, man, I got your 6. We're gonna get through this. We're gonna keep pushing on. And we started this amazing golf tournament at American Dunes, the Folds Collegiate. We're trying to put it together with Casey, the Michigan State coach, and he was like, hey man, I got this awesome Patriot, Aaron Zeigler, and I think he'll be willing to help us out. But that's a perfect example of people coming alongside the mission to do the right thing.
Dan, when you talk about, emotion hits you and you want to make sure that you don't let that moment pass you by and you do something. So Motion kind of hit us as an organization today as
Yes.
you're speaking, and I think that we can do more than what we've done in the past. So got a check here for you for Folds Honor
my
for
gosh.
$50,000.
Oh.
So we greatly appreciate you coming to spend some time with us and want to help out any way we can.
Yeah, and I love it's how Drive for Life Foundation.
Yeah, that's
How
our
good is that,
foundation.
brother?
Is we're trying to change people's lives for the better, and we couldn't think of a better way to be able to do that than helping out with Folds of Honor.
Wow. And we will put that toward the schools that we support at the Folds Collegiate, and that's 10 scholarships. And I mentioned today, we had about 9,000 scholarships we awarded this year, but we had 4,000 unfunded qualified families, and we just knocked 5 off that list.
Awesome.
So thank you, man.
You're welcome.
What a blessing. Wow.
It's interesting in that room today. I don't know that there was a dry eye as you talked about your mission, you talked about your purpose, you talked about how you're giving back. The video, you went to Budweiser and worked with Adam Driver, right? And you showed him giving a scholarship to a family that was so much in need. What does it mean to you to have that be the purpose of your life? And how can others, Aaron and the Zeigler Auto Group here, this $50,000, this 5 scholarships, how can others continue, or how can others become involved?
Well, with Folds, you can visit our website, foldsofhonor.org. But more importantly, why I'm here is to wake people up to the lesson, the gift that Folds of Honor saved me, and the lives that people live that are so myopic. They're so focused on themselves.
Yeah.
And when you break out of that and discover this irony that when you serve others, you are the one that is being helped.
Yeah.
And it is, it's the greatest drug on earth.
Yeah.
I would not trade my job with anybody on the planet. And just feel so blessed to get to be the voice and support these families. And I think, another beautiful thing about Folds is, this $50,000 is a perfect example. It's a vessel that we can all jump on, because I think most people want to do good. They're like,
Yes.
man, but where do I start?
How do
I'm
I-
overwhelmed
Yeah.
with getting through a Monday. It's a great place to start.
Yeah. Aaron, how did you get involved? What brought you into this?
So Dan and I have a common friend in Casey Luban, who's the head golf coach at Michigan State University, and somehow these guys got together and put together the greatest college golf tournament on planet Earth. It's basically the Masters for college golf, and they needed a bunch of cars this year. I think we ended up giving them 30 some cars, with all the teams flying in from around the country. And I played in the Pro-Am, got to meet Dan, heard him speak, and I was just blown away. And what was really cool is I got to share that experience with my son. So him and I played in that Pro-Am, and he got to hear Dan speak as well. And I said, boy, some way, somehow, we got to talk Dan into coming to speak to the company.
Yeah.
We got to share his knowledge with everybody. And I was telling Dan earlier, my son and I have had a lot of amazing experiences, but that's when I'll look back on, 30 years from now and remember that day and how powerful that was. And it was just such a cool experience for us to be able to share.
Yeah. It's interesting. You talk about everyone can give back. Everyone can give a little. Some call it a widow's mite. There can be a small offering. There can be something large. Everyone can do something. What is it about that where when we give something, we always get back more than we give? And that's kind of the truth that you're pursuing with this, right?
That's what I talked about today, this concept of divine echo. I've cracked the code on life. Whatever you want your life to be, you must first put it out in the world, and then it comes back.
Yeah.
And when you are kind, you are passionate, you tell your spouse how much you love them and how much you appreciate them, watch what comes back.
Yeah.
Or your kids, or the person, the barista, whoever it is, man. This, my buddy Toby Max, a Christian artist, he has a song called Speak Life. And the whole premise is there's never a neutral interaction. Either you are adding or you are taking away. And when you are adding, it just bounces, echoes back to you in just the most awesome way, when you know that you're living and walking the walk that you should be.
Yeah. So for our audience that's tuning in today, you've got a way to give back. You've got a way to contribute. Aaron, thank you for this contribution, and to be part of the Zeigler Auto Group where we're helping to support this is amazing.
Sam, I'm assuming we can put the QSR code up there. People can hit it on their screen to go directly to Folds of Honor. So we'll get that up here on the screen.
We'll put the QR code. not only do you have an opportunity to give back, but you gave us something really neat today. You're a fighter pilot. There's no one else on planet Earth that is both a fighter pilot and a PGA. You played golf with Tiger Woods in college, right?
Yeah.
I think our audience would love to hear you shared your routine with us that resulted in the success that created you, as improbable as you are. You shared with us the statistics. It's more probably you became an NFL football player than a fighter pilot,
Yeah,
right?
way more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us what is the discipline? What is the routine that created you?
No, I don't. I mean, it certainly evolved, but I think it is so critical that everyone has a routine and you write that routine down for accountability, and then you execute that routine, and then that turns into a habit.
Yeah.
And for me, it's autopilot. I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna make a cup of coffee, get in my prayer, hit the gym. When I'm home, take my kids. I got 5 daughters.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do the things that matter every day. And I really believe that's how you live a life that's true to yourself. There's a quote in there, you are the sky, everything else is the weather. Man, the weather,
Yeah.
pull up your 7-day app. It's
Yeah.
gonna be all over the place.
Yeah.
And so is your life. And if you don't know where you're going and what your purpose is and
Yeah.
defend that real estate, which is your life,
Yeah.
you're just going to flow with whatever happens and wake
Yeah.
up 10 years from now and say, oh my gosh, what happened to my life? When you live by discipline and you live by a routine, you're going to be able to answer that question, and you're incrementally getting just a little bit better every day. And that's what, I tell the fighter pilots that I train, and great metaphor for all of us is like, walk out of the squadron a little bit better than you walked in.
Yeah.
There are no big steps in life,
Yeah.
man. There's no such thing. And we're all we're all flying in the wind. You're all going to struggle. We all have challenges in life, but living a life true to yourself requires you to live by a code, which is your routine.
Yeah.
And you got to figure that one out for yourself, but it's really important.
It's neat how as part of that cup of coffee and your prayer in the morning, it connects you with gratitude, right? Which sets you in the right direction. You shared a story where your dad set you up for this trajectory. You went to him and said, I want to become a fighter pilot. I want to play golf. And he asked you a question. What direction do planes take off? Share with us that, because that's a great metaphor for life as we think about adversity and facing that adversity.
Yeah, I flipped the script on this.
Yeah.
In a huge way. Now, when I was 12, I told my dad, hey, guess what? I'm going to be a golf pro and a fighter pilot. And he comes back at me with, son, can you tell me which way an airplane takes off? I'm like, well, I think it's into the wind. Absolutely. And when you understand in life that you have resistance, challenge, I fly the most powerful fighter jet in the world. One of them, we take off into the wind because we need that to ascend. And when you change your relationship with resistance and challenge, yes, it is hard.
Yeah.
We use this term, embrace the suck, in the fighter pilot world. But when you embrace it and you understand that it's not there to keep you down, but help to evolve and raise you up, you flip the script on life.
Yeah.
And that was, a thing that I hang on to every day, because our lives, our legacy is written by what we're doing when it's not going our way. Winning is easy.
Yeah.
But we don't do that very often. No one does.
Yeah.
It's how you fight through and do the next right thing despite challenge and circumstance. It's inevitable in all of our lives.
Aaron, you teach that in business. It relates not only to flying, but business, where it's not always smooth sailing.
Yeah, there's such a tie-in from a leadership standpoint between business, sports, and the military world, and that's why we love to learn from each other.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here, what do you think of Team Zeigler? You're in our locker room. You quoted some of our core values that were written up on the board.
Yeah.
What did it mean to you to be here with Team Zeigler?
I mean, 2,400 strong, 40,000 automobiles a year. And the big word that I grab onto is execution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like whatever you have to come up with, hey, this is the play I'm going to run, but it doesn't matter unless you do it. And you guys execute. Obviously, support and folds. Just so grateful for that. But it is. I mean, it's a team, and there is a playbook, And when you execute against it, great stuff happens. And I'm always like, success, like you can't pursue success. You pursue doing the right thing every day, and success ensues as a result. It is a byproduct. And that's the awesome juice I feel hanging out here with the Zeigler team and Aaron for the day. Really cool stuff.
So I did ask you this towards the end in the room, but I think it's a fun. You take a lot of celebrities, you take a lot of business people up on flights. You talk about the G's that you sustain as this rocket ship goes straight up into the. Who passes out in these flights that you do?
Everyone passes out in these flights. And I was joking. We just one of the commanders for SEAL Team 3. We had him up.
He's a Navy SEAL.
Oh yeah, like the baddest dude you've ever seen. And they get in there, went to sleep 3 times, threw up all over himself. It's just a violent occupation. And I'm 150 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
And it's like smoking a Lucky.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Aaron, one of these days, maybe. Do you think would you stay awake in this deal?
Probably not. No. Yeah.
Everybody's like, my dream. I think I want to ride. This is an unnamed NASCAR driver who showed up, and he was already, I'm not going to name him.
Okay.
It's dream a whole life, but just strutting out there, all this kind of stuff. He was in the air for 5 minutes and made him come back and land. It was like,
oh wow,
I'm out.
No part of this. Tapped out. I'm out.
I can see that.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. And Aaron, we don't typically say this at the end of the podcast or this speaker series. Hearing your message today and the last few messages we've heard as part of the Zeigler speaker series, what an incredible privilege it is as Team Zeigler and our podcast audience to hear from you, to relate the lessons you're sharing with us to our business, to our life. So thank you for being here, Aaron. Thank you for making this possible.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for changing 5 lives and supporting the Folds Collegiate. And that's a great way I didn't mention. If people want to support Folds of Honor, just close, but next year go out and play American Dunes. It is the most heroic round of golf you'll ever play over in Grand Haven, Michigan, and we will donate $1 million for the 2nd year in a row from proceeds directly from American Dunes to Folds of Honor. There's no golf course, no golf experience like it in the world. My man Jack Nicklaus donated his $3 million fee, and without apology. There's a hat there that says unapologetic on it. It is God, country, and the game. And if you love those things, you love your red, white, and blue, this is your house, brother. Come see us.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Be there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks to all who contributed to this week's podcast. Until next week, how are you driving vision today?